The KTM 390 Adventure. Is it a proper off-road machine? Or is it nothing but a duded up, egg-sucking city commuter pretending to be something it's not?
Today, we're going to find out. Hey guys, welcome to the highly anticipated KTM 390 review.
By her.
By me.
With little inputs by
From
me.
him.
She owns the bike,
Yep.
She paid for it herself.
Yep.
She's had it for nearly 10,000 kilometres now.
Yep.
She's had quite a lot of time to form a fair and unbiased opinion of the bike, and we're going to share that with you today.
We all know how much I loved the genuine mirrors. These mirrors I'm gonna throw in the bin in a minute.
Oh yeah.
So we actually bought some DRC off-road mirrors which fold in and out, and the head swivel and all that kind of stuff, so they've been much better. So we've also got trusty old Gub +6 phone mount for those times where I like to look at the phone, if we've got a map, if Josh wants to share it with me or not, or whether it's a secret adventure we're going on. We've mounted a charging cable for the cameras and stuff so we can charge them on the go. So I have filed a gap in these little caps, and that's where we've hidden the extra cable.
So you've got a quick charge cigarette lighter socket,
Yep.
USB,
Yep, 2-port.
Extra cable in there.
Yep. Next item on the agenda is the genuine crash bars. They've protected the body of the motorbike a few times.
They actually come stock on the US version, but for some reason here in Australia you don't get them.
No.
Got to buy them.
I have also replaced the 15-tooth standard front sprocket to a 14-tooth sprocket, so it gives me a little bit more down-low grunt than in the harder stuff that we do in the enduro stuff. So we've also replaced the cast standard alloy rims on the KTM 390 with the full spoked wheel set, and we've also got on here the Motos Tractionator Rail Z tube tyres, and we've got heavy duty tubes in those as well. We've got the aluminium radiator guard from KTM. It's a KTM genuine part. We're moving down to the bash plate area, and we have an AXP plastic bash plate which uses the genuine bracket from the original bash plate, which is quite sturdy.
So that's 8mm thick HDPE plastic.
Thank you.
The AXP bash plate is pretty good for what it is, being plastic, and the mounting options on this bike for a bash plate are really poor for starters, so it's quite hard for companies to make a decent bash plate for it. But the hiding that this thing takes, being that it's so low to the ground, it's done pretty well, I reckon. If you're stuck on a log or sitting on something on the bash plate, it does move up onto the header pipe and starts melting, and you can smell a bit of burnt plastic. It hasn't crushed the pipe, it just tends to sit against it.
Sit on it and melt it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of flex to it.
Yeah, but other than that, it's protected the bottom of the bike, and that's what it's designed to do, and it hasn't broken yet.
So the KTM is not able to have the lock-on grips, so I found ones that are exactly the same. These are the Rogue grips, but they're not lock-ons.
So the reason we can't use lock-on grips with this bike is because it has the ride-by-wire throttle, not a cable throttle. I've got some photos that I took of when we changed these over. There's actually some big plastic lugs built into the throttle tube that you have to cut off to put different grips on there, but it's not too big of a deal. Back to you.
So I've replaced the standard 2-piece seat with the Rally seat, which is a single piece. It's a KTM power parts seat.
It's actually a little bit higher than stock, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so, but I don't really notice the difference. I've removed the resonator from the center of the swing arm and had a custom made exhaust that goes straight through to a muffler, which is a $60 eBay special.
So yeah, we had a link pipe made up by a local welder bloke. Nice fit up there.
I've also put a Polysport armadillo that wraps nicely around the pipe there, so I'm not burning my boots on it all the time.
Suspension's all stock.
Yep.
You've done something with the back shock there, haven't you?
Yep, I wound it all the way down.
So the preload's at the softest setting, just to keep the bike a little bit lower. For all short legs here.
Yep.
There's a really obvious add-on just here,
which is from AXP rear rack.
So just briefly, the story with this is AXP sent us a prototype when they were still developing the rack and also the bash plate, but we found that we like tying our bags, mounting them sideways and tying straps over front to back, and there was no place at the front here to tie a strap, so we actually added these bits of aluminium dowel into the rack ourselves, and we gave a bit of feedback to AXP, and they've actually left a plastic piece there now so that you can tie a bag front to back, which is good. Also, we found that with a fair bit of weight on it, being plastic, it tends to flop around a bit, so we added a bit of 5mm aluminium plate underneath. That just goes from the front of the rack to the back, bolted in. It works well to give it a bit of strength. I'm not sure if they've changed any of that design.
I don't believe so, no.
Since. So just be aware if you get this AXP rack, being way back on the bike, sort of there. Just be aware that you may need to add a bit of reinforcement there. But you know, with that in there, that's nothing, and it works well.
Yep, and when they sent us the prototype, they sent us these as well, which is the guard for your pillion pegs and just your protection there for your reservoir as well.
Also at the front, that's added the clear perspex headlight protector. So she's got this chain guide on here. It came from KTM. I'm not exactly sure if it's an official 391 or if it's just off another bike that fits this one as well, but yeah, it's a KTM part. Handy to have a chain guide. What do you got up here?
Got the air filter pre-filter, which goes on the end of the snorkel that collects all the dust and shit from going into the actual air filter that's in here. And you get it as a 2-piece kit, so you get one and then you've got one as a spare as well for when you're washing it and cleaning it out.
You have to, I think you have to cut a bit off the end of the snorkel there to stick it on.
Yep, I believe so. I think that was the case. Yep. So since we've put it on, we've actually well, I've actually noticed that I'm not changing or cleaning the air filter inside the actual air box too often. I do check it, but it seems to be pretty clean.
Yeah, and these are an oiled paper filter too, so you can't really wash them. But you have put the...
I have put the K&N air filter in, and I also purchased some cleaning products and the K&N oil to re-oil it once it's clean.
So I don't think anyone's come up with an actual foam filter, oiled foam filter replacement for the 390 yet, which is unfortunate. But yeah, with the pre-filter, as she said, it's not too bad. She's also fitted bar risers. A lot of people ask about this. The bike definitely needs them, in my opinion, and in nuts as well. The bars are quite low stock, so we got these from KTM as well. I'm not sure what the part number or anything is, but ask your local KTM dealer.
I'm pretty sure they were for an enduro bike. I think it comes as a 10, 20 and a 30mm rise, and I'm pretty sure that they fit most of your enduro bikes, so they're kind of like a universal.
So what size are these? 30?
They're 30,
Yeah.
yep.
And just be aware, you may not have to on your bike, but if you do put the bar risers on there, you'll probably have to lengthen the clutch cable. We had a bit of trouble making it reach with the bar risers on, so something to be aware of. We just took it to a local bloke and he lengthened and it cost $20 or something.
Yeah, and I think he added 20 mil.
Yeah, about an inch or something.
Yeah, something like that.
These don't come stock.
So we've replaced the standard chain with an aftermarket chain just there.
And why is that?
Because the old one was stretched to the max.
Yeah, it was a cheap, dodgy chain.
Yep.
It was stretching really bad. Yeah.
We've also removed the actual chain protector that sits up around the top here as well.
Chain guard.
Chain guard. The newest addition to the 390 is an aluminium brake pedal tip from eBay.
So that's all the mods for the bike that she's done so far. She is looking at getting the ECU and decat header pipe.
Yep.
From Cuba. We're going to see how we go with that. But now we're going to find out what sucks about the bike.
Okay, so the cast alloy rims sucked. They dented really easily. The ground clearance sucks. There is not much of it at all, especially if you want to go over a log or, you know, you got rocks underneath you or whatever. I had to wound it down as far as it'll go. I don't want to put the lowering shock on because then I'll lose more ground clearance.
Not that small of a bike. It's surprisingly tall. Like, honestly, guys, I don't know how she does it. The seating height on this bike, even with the preload softened right down, it's only marginally lower than the T7, and I'm sort of struggling to get tippy toes on the ground on the T7. I don't know how she manages on this bike. Do you want to just, it's on fairly level ground there. Do you want to show us how you get your feet on the ground? So can you get both feet to the ground or not?
No.
So it's literally one or the other.
Yeah.
Can't even tippy toe?
No, not really.
Very close.
Very close, but no.
See, this is why the bike goes down in the river.
So you've got both feet on the ground?
Tippy toe, both feet.
Yep.
I pretty much get the balls of my feet just to the ground.
Yep.
But that's sort of squeezing the seat in because it is quite a wide seat.
Yeah, it is a wide seat.
So just as a comparison, I just wanted to try and show you guys. You might be able to see there that the 390 seat is a little bit lower than the Tenere. And if you think that the ground clearance isn't an issue, you can clearly see the difference there. It's like the Tenere's got almost twice as much ground clearance. Peg height, 390s is a little bit lower. Handlebar height, obviously Tenere's way higher. So yeah, just a bit of a comparison for you. Not that it means anything, but yeah. So yeah, obviously the cast wheels being what they are, you're looking at $1,800–$1,900 to replace them with the spoke wheels, which does add quite a lot to the overall cost of owning this bike. Unfortunately, it sort of takes the whole fact of it being a budget bike up a little, but if you're planning on taking it into serious off-road, it's a necessary cost, isn't it?
Yep. And at the end of the day, if you want to spend the money, you'll spend it. If you don't, and you're happy with the cast rims, so be it. You don't have to spend the money on it, but I wanted to.
Pretty much. Obviously, any bike you buy, you've got to fork out for a bash plate, radiator guard, upgrade, all that sort of stuff. But most off-road bikes do come with the spoked rims, so it's an extra cost for this particular bike that you want to factor in if you're going to take it off-road.
The suspension sucks. So, given the stuff that we do, it's great for traveling on roads and flat dirt roads and stuff. But when you start taking it bush and popping the front wheels and doing whatever, no, it's not technically designed for that sort of thing, but it does bottom out quite a bit. When you're loaded up and you're going into a dip on the road, you can feel the back end bottom out a little bit. So that's something else that I'll be looking into as well. People are like, oh, it's going to cost, you should have just got this, you should have just got that. But at the end of the day, those bikes weigh a lot more than what this does.
Like 790 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of money that I've spent on it already, people are like, why don't you just get a 790? Yeah, cool, 790s are great, but I'm only small. I can't handle a lot of weight. 790
straight off the bat's an extra 30 to 40 kilos, so
yeah,
it's not for everybody. And it's an extra $13,000, more than double the price of this bike, so there is that to consider as well. Even with the wheels, you're way ahead in the dollar department.
Yeah.
It's possible, that's not going to affect the forks obviously, but possible that if you had longer legs and were able to wind up the preload a bit, that's going to stop you.
Oh, for sure.
If you could adjust your static sag and everything, you may not have as much bottoming out on the back, but the forks obviously need internals to fix that.
Absolutely.
Is that all that sucks about it? You're not going to mention the lack of low-down torque?
Oh, yeah, that that old chestnut.
It needs more low-down grunt. We're hoping that that Kuba ECU is going to help with that. It's supposed to. This bike is great fun on the road. When you get into the snotty stuff, it's where the clutch starts feeling it because you just don't have that low-down grunt. You know, it's not a deal-breaker for a lot of people. It's sort of one of those things where, you know, not everybody's going to be riding the gnarly sort of shit that we do. And she's managing just fine with it. It just makes it a little bit harder.
Once you've ridden it for quite a extensive period over months, you know what it does, you know how it performs, and you cater for that. And you can get around it. You can, and you just, in my opinion, I'm always on the accelerator, and it's always in either second gear going up a hill, and it's banged. Yeah, you just have to adjust your riding style. So. Yeah, absolutely. The stock tyres are shit because they're mainly designed for the road. They are fantastic on the road, don't get me wrong, but they're shit in the dirt. There's not many tyre choices out there for these size rims. As far as aftermarket accessories go for the 390, there's not a lot to choose from out there. People aren't manufacturing much for these motorbikes yet. Hopefully that'll improve in the future. Another annoying factor with the 390 is the traction control. When it's off and you stall the bike or you turn it off, you have to reset it to stay off. And you have to do that every single time, which is a bit of a pain in the butt.
They need a dongle for it, don't they?
Yes, they do. Someone needs to create a dongle so the functions that you set stay set even when you turn the motorbike off and on however many times you want.
Yeah, and just a brief addition to that, I find that because it's lean angle sensitive traction control, when you're on the road and you're trying to gas it out of a corner, if the bike's on too much of a lean, the traction control will cut in and cut your power a little bit. So that can be a bit annoying when it's not expected.
The swing arm has sleeve bushes and not roller bearings in them, so it makes it a little bit difficult to grease up. We're not 100% sure how long they're going to last. So the cost is a good factor. You get bang for buck. You get a lot of bike for $8,500 in Australia. It's a relatively light bike and all the weight seems to be low down rather than up high. For a single cylinder bike, it is quite comfortable on those long trips away. The seating position is quite comfortable. Because it is light, you tend to be able to flick it around a lot more than a heavier twin bike. So the TFT display is clear, it shows a lot of information, and you can easily set your shortcuts using the controls here on your handlebars. So on my 390, I just have to press the downward arrow and it automatically takes me to the traction control settings, whether I want to turn it on or off. My up arrow is so I can change my ABS settings to on-road or off-road mode.
And that's a lot easier than going through 6 or 7 menus to get to the setting you want. You can set those shortcuts to whatever you want, hey? Correct.
The 390 is a relatively safe bike with the inclusion of the ABS and the traction control and the corner stabilization as well. The KTM 390 has got a 14 litre fuel tank, which will give you approximately 350 kilometre fuel range.
So from my experience riding this bike, which is pretty limited, it does seem like a fun little motor. Like, it loves to rev. It's got a pokey top end. You get it singing and she'll hang the arse end out, and you know, you can have a lot of fun on it. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Anything further to add?
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Okay. I'm trying to let Nat do all the talking here, guys, but
Struggling!
Anyway, so how about maintenance? So far, not a lot to do. It's been pretty easy, long intervals. How long between oil changes?
It's a 10,000 kilometre interval, service interval.
How do you feel about the looks of it?
I think it looks great. I like the look of the headlight. It makes it look like the other bikes in the range.
You don't think it looks too much like a praying mantis?
No. I like the look about it.
It is a cool looking bike.
Yeah.
Let's talk issues. Let's talk about reliability. Have we had any issues?
Yep.
We have?
Yep. We had, right at the very beginning, before the 1,000 kilometre check over and first 1,000 service, it was stalling all the time. Pull the clutch lever into down gear and stuff like that, and it would die. Wouldn't matter what gear you're in. And we put up with it for quite some time, and we even filmed it. We could reproduce it every single time, and took it to the dealer, and they found that it was the clutch lever switch. So there's a switch under here when you engage the clutch.
It's a lockout in it, but you can't start it with the clutch out.
No.
In gear.
No. So they replaced that, and we haven't had an issue with it since.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange of an issue, but
yeah.
At least they fixed it under warranty, which is good.
Yeah. Just recently we've had the O2 sensor go in it as well.
So how did that happen, Nat?
Oh, we believe that it might have been from when it crashed in the creek.
Got a fair bit of water up the old exhaust pipe.
I think so.
That's getting fixed under warranty as well, so
yep,
that's good.
Getting fixed under warranty. But apart from that, it's been a fantastic bike. Like, reliability is amazing.
Yeah, and maintenance hasn't been an issue, has it? Like we got the 1000k service was done at the shop, and we did an oil change ourselves at 5000 k's, which is pretty easy. It's been a pretty reliable workhorse. As we mentioned, she's done nearly 10,000 k's on it. Let's have a look at the odometer, shall we?
Ooh.
Shit, 99.11. I didn't think you were that close.
Yeah, that'll be done hopefully by the time we get home. We'll probably have done 10,000.
So are there any upgrades in the pipeline?
Yep. Suspension, front and rear. High mounted front guard.
She doesn't like the low fender?
Nah. When I go over a woo boy and my front comes down, that flops around and hits the front tyre.
Yeah, right.
That's why I want mine to be the high mounted one. Plus I like shit to be different. I don't like to be the same as everybody else. Also looking at the Kuba ECU upgrade as well.
Yep.
They're the three main ones in the pipelines right now.
Suspension,
yep.
high fender,
yep.
Kuba ECU, and
decat.
Decat.
Yeah. As you can see, the foot pegs are tilted forward a fraction. I personally don't see an issue with them at all. I quite like them, which is a shock to most people.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of complaining about that. So if you have a really stiff-soled boot and you're standing on the pegs, you may sort of be standing on the back edge of the pegs rather than flat on the pegs, but as you can see there, it's not too bad.
Some people also find that there's quite a bit of vibration that comes through the foot pegs, but again, I don't find that at all. On the odd occasion I will feel some vibration, just depends on where my foot's planted on the peg, but it's not all the time.
What about through the handlebars?
Nothing through the handlebars really, nothing at all.
How do you feel about the plastic handguards? I see you're still running those.
I don't mind them, I think they're pretty cool. They do their job, they stop stuff from smacking me on the fingers and
the bike's been dropped a few times on them and they're still in one piece, so...
When they break, then I'll consider getting something else.
Who, me?
So who do you think that this bike is aimed at? Who do you think it's going to suit? What sort of rider? Obviously it's not going to be for everybody.
No, I think it would be suited best for maybe beginners.
Yep.
Shorter people.
Yep. People that can't or don't want to have to pick up 200 plus kilo bikes.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe some older women, some older men. shorter people.
Definitely agree with you there. People that are getting into the sport and they're not 100% sure that they're going to enjoy it, and they don't want to spend 20 grand on a 790 or whatever it costs.
Absolutely.
Because a big thing about this bike is the weight. I mean,
it's still
heavy, but it's low down weight, and it's relatively easy to pick up. How much does it weigh?
Oh, I don't know.
I think they reckon about 170 kilos. I'm not sure if that's wet or dry.
I was going to ballpark about 160 odd.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of bike to pick up still. If you're small framed, or you're not very strong, or whatever, like.
That's my whole thought on this bike too. Definitely beginners, people that don't want something heavy, they just want to get into adventure riding.
Yeah.
Because I don't see this being a bike that's going to suit experienced riders. But there's a caveat to that, because you're an experienced rider. You rip on this bike, but you know, she couldn't handle something like a Tenere or a 790. It's too much bike for a little person. As
much as I love them, it's just way too much bike for me.
So I think that pretty much wraps it up, guys. We've tried to be as comprehensive as we can. With a little bit of money spent on it, a few mods and accessories, it can be turned into quite a handy little adventure bike.
So if you feel that there's something that we haven't covered, please leave a comment down below and we'll do our very best to answer each and every one of them. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give us a big thumbs up, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Later.
Yeah, I can see why, you know, beginners go for the 390. It's definitely a lot more confidence inspiring than being on something like that. But hopping on this little thing, it just feels, you just feel more confident.
There he goes.
Doing this sort of stuff on this bike is a lot of fun.
It does have a fun little engine that will, I don't fucking know, this fucking shit is